What is happening? Elevation Nation, Sam and I are back for another elevated conversation with a new elevator, Libby, Amber, Shayo, joining Elevation Nation. What's going on, Libby? Sam and I are pumped to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Libby, it's about damn time, I would say, because I feel like as soon as we met you, we started to play a little bit of entrepreneur slash Jewish geography, and we have so many of the same friends. So I'm very excited that we get to welcome you officially to the nation and dive into a little bit more about who you are, your mindset, and how you've built an incredible entrepreneurial and content creation journey for yourself. But before we get into all that, this is Elevation Nation, so we have to hear your elevator pitch. Who are you?
Ooh, love it. Okay. Hi, everyone who's listening. I'm Libby Amber Shayo, New York, born and raised. No permit, no license, no problem. And I'm never going to learn how to drive. I have a fear. Went to school for an acting BFA, graduated in 2020. What's an actor to do in 2020? I don't know, post on TikTok. So I was inspired through comedy lessons I was learning in my last semester of university at Buffalo from Alan Zweibel, one of the original SNL writers, and I accidentally pretended to be my Jewish mother online, now known as Cheryl Cohen, the Jewish mom of TikTok. And so I did a Jewish Mothers on Passover video, recreating this character persona. TikTok reshared it on their Instagram story, tagged me in it on Passover, and the rest was history. So that was 5 years ago, and I pretty much pretended I knew what I was doing, touched any brand I could, and now I'm going full in on content creation for 3 months.
So, Libby, you grew up in New York City? Is that why you don't have a car or a license?
No
is that true?
permit, no license, no problem, baby. Yep.
I feel like every single person I know who grew up in New York City, they have no need to have a license, but like, I
No.
feel like you can't be an adult without having your driver's license. I don't know. There's something
Well,
about
I
that.
feel like you can't be an adult if you didn't know how to take the train in middle school. Okay.
Okay, that's a fair
Okay.
argument.
All right. All
I will
right.
say I put that out there. So why is it you don't ever want to get your license? Never.
It's not, I genuinely am scared. Like, wish I could, you know? But the drivers in the city don't make me want to drive. And I was never good at driving games in the arcade. Like, I was always last. Mario Kart, everyone's like, ooh, Libby, 14th place. Like, yeah, you don't want me behind the wheel. I get it, all right? So we figured out it's not for me, but don't worry, my husband, he knows how to drive.
I like that. That's good because you know what? New York City roads are pretty crazy, but like the highways, they go a little bit faster and things do get a little
Yeah.
crazier out there.
Yeah. I love when I get into people's cars and they're always like, hey, Livy, like, can I park here? Hey, Livy, how do you think I parked? And I'm just like, you're you're doing great. Like, you're really asking the wrong person. So I'll just say whatever you want me to.
I think I don't know how to take the subway, and so maybe I'm not a New York adult, but I do have my license.
Okay.
But I think, Libby, to your point of your story and your elevator pitch, you were an actor, are an actor, who just like many people during COVID took a chance on either being creative, trying something new, going outside their comfort zone. For Parker and I, it was starting Elevation Nation in a podcast. For you, it was posting on TikTok. It obviously didn't start with you saying, this is going to be my full-time job. I
Right.
imagine you were a little bit bored and things just worked out how the universe magically works out sometimes. Can you talk to me about, I mean, that was almost 5 years ago, that moment when you first started posting, and how quick did you have success thereafter?
Yeah. So one thing with being an actress, you know, it was amazing. I did the whole BFA program, but within like my third year, junior year, I was like, I'm really interested in talent management and casting. So I thought that that was going to be endgame for me. And I was so sure of myself. I was ready to get rid of the theater bug, if you will. And you know, Jewish moms, they want you to get money and find a nice lawyer. Like I was trying to go buy what I possibly could. And my parents were so supportive. They sent me and paid for all my performing classes, auditions for college and everything. And so obviously the casting part couldn't work out. So I'm like, well, what now? I still have this performance dream that I tried to kill that could maybe come out in a video. And through the class with Alan Zweibel, we were learning about comedy and the core of comedy and how to be funny. And I always played funny roles, so why not put that energy into play? People always thought when I would share stories about my Jewish mom that they were the funniest thing they've ever heard. But my mom wasn't one to want to be on camera. So obviously I'm in my I'm in my college bedroom, eventually going back home, turning into my childhood bedroom. But I get off the phone with my mom. She's like, hand sanitizer is going to be costing $100. You better order a lot. And I'm like, this is crazy. She's like, I don't know what to do for Passover this year. We're going to have to do a Zoom before. I don't know how to use Zoom. So I just recreated the conversation with no hopes of it going anywhere. Maybe even my friends thinking it was funny. And that was the video that hit. So obviously I was so grateful for that. And I was always a proud Jew throughout my life, that it made sense that I was becoming a public figure, proud of my Judaism and showing my comedy through it and showing, you don't have to be Jewish to understand the type of content I'm making. It's super niche, but everybody has an aunt that's like Cheryl or, whatever it might be.
I just think back to during COVID when I was with my mom and just all of the insane things that she was saying and doing. And like everyone was doing crazy things because no one knew what the hell was happening in the world. But I'm just like,
right.
Yeah. So like, I'm glad that you shined a little bit of light through your
There
comedy.
had to be a light.
Like there had to be a light, first of all. But then I'm like, oh my God, some of the crazy things that she said and did, like, I love it. I think it's amazing. How many videos did you post before it actually went viral?
I think like I was posting like silly videos like when you go to the club after COVID, like things that I archived, or the fact that I literally had a mime class via Zoom. And I just thought that was the most comedy thing I've ever heard of. And I was kind of treating it like my private Snapchat story. And once I felt that way, it was like really candid and true. And what they say about the TikTok algorithm finding you your people, that's exactly what happened. Like, I'm not dressed to impress in the first video that went viral at all. But the second I saw that do well, I was like, okay, from now on, every single day, I'm posting a skit. I'll come up with something. Jewish mom visits college, Jewish mom. And I had like a little bit of iMovie editing experience from like self-tapes and from the play dates of being a theater kid when you're younger. Like, you don't have a normal play date. You're like filming videos with your best friend and you think that Justin Bieber's going to see it on Twitter. Like, so I wasn't that original, but like I had the skills of being a creator. I just didn't really understand what that was.
So, Libby, I want to talk a little bit about your mindset throughout this whole thing. At Elevation Nation, Parker and I, we go around the country and we teach what we call the missing piece for young adults to conquer the real world. And we trademark that as mental fortitude, knowing who you are, your vision, and what inspires and fuels you. And so I want to throw it back to those 2020 years when you started posting. It was just Snapchat for your friends, really, on TikTok. Then it started to go more viral. You started to treat it seriously, committed to doing one every day, editing it, spending real time on it. So I want to go through each of those pillars of mental fortitude, starting with yourself. How did you, one, feel the confidence to go post so publicly about maybe sometimes some taboo things that stereotypically Jewish mothers do? So I want to start there with knowing yourself, and then we'll go into the other pillars.
Yeah. I think with being a theater person, you always want to be famous, or you always want to be recognized. For as long as I can remember, I was on the stage. I was on a show called Teen Kids News on Fox 5 all 4 years of high school. So every Saturday morning, like, it would come on and I'd be in school on Monday and they'd be like, saw your segment. So I was always into that. I loved being like in the shows, front and center. So being shy was never part of any of it for me. I think the one thing that might have been a struggle was like telling people, hey, can you please like this for me so I can like start getting engagement and potentially take this seriously, because you're like awkward, like you don't really want to tell your friends like, please like my stuff. Like Facebook when you're in high school type, like my prof pic for prof pic, question mark. So I think like everyone kind of starts off like, okay, I need my friend's help here. And funny enough, I always got made fun of my whole life for the longest Snapchat stories ever. Like back to when they were like numbers. So they'd be like, ugh, Libby posted 130 seconds on her Snapchat. Every time I just click, 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 click. Or like when you're in the sorority and like people in the sorority are like, oh my God, like you post so much. Like somebody should have given me the sorority Instagram account. But everyone was kind of telling me my whole life in different ways, you post a lot online. So I'm like, you know what? I guess now I'll have all the time in the world to do something about it.
And so like you have all the time in the world, like who yourself is really well, it sounds like. You love creating content, it's your outlet, it's your art, and putting together skits or jokes or stories or whatever it might be. If it's 5 seconds or 150 seconds long, you're still posting. For your vision, like, did you actually think you could create a career around this at that time?
No way. But
I guess no one
seeing,
really knew, right? But like,
no. But like when you're seeing the numbers coming through and it's like Jewish people and non-Jewish people, and it felt so accepting at that time, like so many things were acceptable and people were open and there was just like a different vibe in the world. So people are like, oh my gosh, I love this. This is like my Christian Aunt Nana, whatever it might be.
huh.
And I was just like relating to the fact that people were relating to it without being Jewish. So I thought it was like this special opportunity to bring Jewish culture in a humorous way that I felt like wasn't done before, eventually leading to a Jewish dating podcast called Schmuck Boys with my co-host Marla Friedson, where like everyone tells you date Jewish, marry Jewish, but we have the humor side of things on my online. How do we get people to actually understand what being Jewish is from the modern lens? So that was really the goal, tying everything together.
So your posting has shifted over through the years, or have you been pretty consistent since the beginning?
I think consistent with like the same values, but I'm adding more layers. Like when you first started content in 2020, everybody said, find a niche and stick with it. So I took that very seriously. I thought that the only thing that would work was Jewish mom posts. But then I started posting like a little bit of days in the life, like sprinkling in, and I started doing a lot of camp content. And then I created this Camp Cohen because nobody could go to camp over the summer of 2020, and I sold merch. Cheryl Cohen, camp counselor, better than birthright. And I like was making all this merch money from an account that was barely starting up from this fake camp. And what is the counselor doing today? And even now I still do camp content. Jewish mom is like so part of the beginning of my story and I still do it, but it's not everything anymore. Like I've found my other interests. I've taken my followers along through my own dating journey, marriage journey, skincare journey, and like the podcast, as well as like my Jewish life on a day-to-day.
So the vision that you have has kind of evolved with you in the different stages of your life. And it sounds like your main goal is I don't care about necessarily what stage of life I'm in or what topic I'm talking about, but I'm going to be authentically Libby and just share through different mediums what my life is up to. And so I give you a lot of credit for figuring out that vision as you go. A lot of people, I think, make the error, especially at a younger age, of my vision is I want to be a lawyer or a doctor or this. And because at 20 or 21, their parents and them set their minds to it that that's what they needed to do and that's what was acceptable and therefore they needed to push towards it.
Yeah.
And then they end up hating it and they don't shift their vision or they don't pivot or they don't get real with themselves to say, you know what, maybe this vision isn't right for 24-year-old or 25-year-old Sam or Libby, right?
Yeah.
And so that's, I think, a big lesson when Parker and I teach vision to all these young people is we say, right now, talk to us about your vision. But this isn't just a set it and forget it thing. This is something that you need to reflect back on all the time. So I give you a ton of credit, Libby, for figuring that out early on. The last piece of mental fortitude is what we call your fuel. It's not easy to post every day. It's not easy to post once a week. It's not easy to build up a merch business, to quit and go full time. Being an entrepreneur is very hard. So I want to ask you, what is fueling you each and every day to continue pushing on this very difficult journey?
Well, I think what you said earlier, plans change. And I think that that is a really hard reality to realize sometimes. But if you think about it, the plan changed, but the vision stayed the same, like you're saying. I always wanted to perform and be the spotlight. I just made my own way of figuring out how to do it. And maybe my vision or journey looks a little different from someone else, but I took a viral moment online, received articles, received opportunities, all from that. I went through the whole corporate end where I essentially got to be the face of a brand, which in our generation is like a commercial. So if I were to audition for any of these commercials or brands, maybe I'm too blonde, I'm too tall, I'm not the right fit for the project. Instead, I was working corporate for these accounts with my faces on them every single day. Like I worked for a skincare company, I was on the Trident Gum account, I was on the Nutter Butter account at one point, Sour Patch Kids, Tums, Emergency, Chapstick. So I got to, whether it was my face or not, like be part of the process. I got to learn it from all angles because I'm a big advocate that if you ever decide to go in on acting, you decide to go in on essentially acting online, which is social media, in my opinion, you should understand the brand. You should understand what it is to write a brief. Just like if you're an actor, you should know casting, you should know talent management. So I felt like I touched all those places and was able to formulate what a day-to-day would look like for me now and have that journey set in stone. So yeah, I didn't want to miss anything. I wanted that full social media foundation to be taught because otherwise you're just learning by doing.
Learning by doing, though, is not necessarily a bad thing, though.
No.
We all kind of do that, and I feel like we all have learned by doing,
Oh, for sure. But I was very fortunate in my agency experience to work with people that were also like teachers. And they also would take time out of the calendar at work to do like specific sessions where we would watch other case studies for brands. And we would talk about different editing tricks with the other creators that I worked with. So it was like a different community. Whereas if you're working full time and you're doing brand deals and other creators are doing brand deals, of course you can help each other. But these are like coworkers in a company where you have your own personal account and you're running a brand account that you learn so much at once.
So the last year and a half as a Jewish person has been, what's the word to put to it? Quite something, right? Just given what has happened in the world. And we actually just recently interviewed someone who has a podcast where she openly just interviews Jewish people and wants to learn.
Is it Margarita?
It's not Margarita.
Oh.
But I feel like we have to meet Margarita.
I feel like you have to meet Margarita.
But, as someone who's posting all the time, consistently talking about Judaism and our values as Jews and shedding light on what Sam and I and many people out there know to be such an amazing culture and amazing people. The internet is not a safe space, necessarily. There are people from all walks of life who chime in with random BS all the time. How do you continue to post? And when you know that not necessarily it's always going to be received like how you want it to be.
Yeah. One of the things that always pushes me to continue to post is the fact that literally I would not be here had I not have been Jewish online and decided to say, I could have made my first video POV your mom calls, but it wasn't that. It was POV your Jewish mom calls about Passover. So that's like two different Jewish parts of the video that are super, super niche. And I was rewarded for that in a positive way from people who were part of that and weren't. And I'm the type of person that I am so grateful and indebted to people who helped me. This was a culture that helped me basically with my whole entire career and who I am as a person. I went to public school. Technically, you would think a public school person might not care as much, there wasn't as much education there or invested. But I went to a Jewish camp, and for me, that was everything. Camp was my literal life, which, again, also part of what I do is camp. So I really try to pay tribute to the reason that I'm even in the position that I am, and I think it's paid off so much. I think that especially since October 7th, being in the comedy space, I really had to take a second to be like, it was great being funny. People know me for being funny, but now it's time to be serious. And what does that approach look like? What does this new strategy look like? So I remember, I've built so many different community chats and Jewish events, like saying to myself, when these comedians post, I'll post. And I really stuck by that. And it wasn't comfortable. It was different from things that I was normally doing, but the situation wasn't comfortable and it wasn't happy. And I was noticing that so many people were coming to me for help, for guidance. So I was creating all these events for Jewish influencers and supporting them, and people were looking up to me. And I had this position where I had this community being like, how can we do something? And I just feel so blessed to be part of such a special community. It's so sad to see how other people are taking something that seems so like black and white that it's not. But when I started this, I didn't have the intention of everyone's gonna love what I'm doing, or no actors, like every single person who sees my show is gonna love it. No, some people are gonna walk away and be like, this was the worst show ever. So I was built a little bit with tough skin that you're gonna get that hate, and sometimes it knocks me down, it makes me upset. But for the last 5 years, every time I would get death threats or hate comments, I would share all of them. So I'm continuing to do that, and that I feel like gives me the confidence and the drive because it's gotten me so far.
Well, I know Sam's going to hop in, but Libby, I just want to say, thank you. Seriously, as a Jewish person living in New York City, and when I've had conversations with my wife about hiding pieces of our identity, that's weird and scary and doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like me. But there you are, sitting there and being your authentic self in the most public spaces that you can be in, which is the internet, where anyone can add their opinions or thoughts on anything you post. And I think just thank you for being so vulnerable and open to not only sharing the deep and hard things that Jewish people are going through, but the amazing things that make us Jewish and our culture.
Yeah, thank you.
Also adding comedy and humor around those things, because I think a lot of things we do as Jewish people are funny and should be shared. And it's amazing.
Agreed.
That way. It makes us who we are. But you're educating people as well who might not never met a Jewish person in their entire life. And so what you're doing is also, you're providing an outlet for people, you're entertaining people, but you're also educating. And that is so important during this day and age, more than ever.
Thank you. Sometimes it doesn't feel like enough, but hearing that also is so great and special. And I always try to be at every Jewish event and supporting in any way I can, or adding meaning behind events with Jewish influencers, because I don't want them to just be there. I want there to be a reason, and how can we help and support each other and uplift other people's stories. And Schmuck Boys, which I mentioned, the podcast that we're doing, that is really the whole mission too. The whole mission is not to push an agenda on you. The mission of the podcast was, let's bring on the coolest, most fun, entertaining Jewish people to talk about why they love it so much, what's important to them. And when October 7th happened, it was, okay, let's talk about each angle with specific people. We had Adela Kohab talk about what was it like, with anti-Semitism in schools. People are looking up to her because she was one of the first people to open up about that. What does that look like now? How can people find resources? We talked to Zach Sage Fox about interviews on the street. Everyone has their own approach. Lizzie Savetsky about being a mom during this time, having been in Israel during this time while it was all happening. So really, even now, everything's still tying back. One of the questions we always ask is, how has your Jewish identity shifted since then. And we've gotten some really, really beautiful stories like shared on the podcast that I hope inspire people. One person shared a story, Menachem Silverstein, that his neighbor was nervous and took down their mezuzah. And someone who wasn't Jewish in the neighborhood put up his mezuzah and all the non-Jewish mezuzahs in the area. And that made this person put back their mezuzah. They weren't scared anymore because now everyone was in unison with them, even people who weren't Jewish in their neighborhood. So it's stuff like that like you wouldn't know if you weren't bringing these conversations and other people can hear, and hopefully that makes other people proud. And it's really special to be part of that community.
I'm very excited that Parker and I could be able to come on Schmuck Boys and share how being Jewish has impacted us in our friendship before and after October 7th. So I'm excited to get into that, and I won't spoil that conversation, but be sure to tune in to
Yes.
the podcast. We'll link to it here. But I think as Parker and I have continued to grow Elevation Nation, we kept a lot of our identities hidden, not just Judaism, where we worked, where we lived. We tried to keep it a little bit anonymous just for the fact that we probably weren't theater kids like you, Libby. I wasn't used to being the center of attention in this way. And
Right.
It wasn't necessarily my goal with Elevation Nation, with Parker, to be creators ourselves. It was, I just want to know how to be a young adult. And a podcast seems like the best way to do that.
Yeah.
Now that has evolved and changed as we've certainly become more confident and comfortable being the center of attention. Parker and I certainly talk about our Jewish heritage and what has defined us as young men and in this content creation space, sharing vulnerable stories of our mindset, and certainly being Jewish and meeting at API at University of Maryland is core to that. So I'm
Such a good
grateful,
story. Such a good
so grateful
story.
we get to do that with you.
Me too.
I think back to, and maybe I'm wrong, but Gigi Robinson brought together after October 7th content creators that were Jewish in the space. And I imagine you were in that at some point, which means
Yes.
our paths crossed years ago.
Correct.
And now cross again, which is beautiful. So I'm definitely grateful, as you are, to this amazing community of people that we have to lean on. I want to move us into our rapid fire segment, though, Libby, which are
Ooh.
quick hitting questions. So get ready. We're talking about being proud to be Jewish. Obviously, you have Schmuck Boys podcast yourself. Is there a famous Jewish person that you really want to interview on Schmuck Boys?
Adam Sandler.
That was so easy.
Well, I was at the gym. Here's a little story for you. During that SNL special. You remember that special that they did?
Yes.
They brought the 50-year anniversary. So
Yes,
I'm
yes.
I'm at the gym. I'm on the treadmill. I'm going through my morning routine. It's a Sunday morning. It's beautiful out. And there's a basketball court in the gym. I'm just like running. And there's this guy who's wearing the baggiest pants ever and the biggest shirt ever. And I'm like, holy shit, is that Adam Sandler? And I'm like looking around, like no one knew anything. Like, no one recognized Adam Sandler. I'm like, holy shit, that is literally Adam Sandler playing pickup right in front of me. And so I moved to the stair stepper, which had a better view. And I watched Adam Sandler get to play like 3 games of pickup. All the guys on the court knew, and there were a few women as well. But no one else.
He does that, by the way.
Yes,
He does that a
went to
lot.
Random gyms to play pickup. And then he just ran out and walked away, and I was like, holy shit, it's Adam Sandler. That night, JJ, my wife and I are watching SNL, and he's giving this big like toast or whatever. I'm like, holy shit. Like, he worked out in the Upper West Side, I guess for some basketball, went down to wherever they filmed the SNL thing and just did it. Well, I feel like I missed out on, I had an opportunity I missed out on, and is what it is. All right, my rapid fire, Libby, you obviously live in New York City, you grew up in New York City. Like, is there a dish and a place that you've just always loved your entire life that has just always been your go-to comfort food?
Smash House. It's not an always thing, it's a current thing. Smash House burgers is so insane. It's like it's kosher. I've never had meat and cheese together, and
Where is
this
that?
tastes like what it would taste like. I feel like it has to taste like that. It is on 37th and Broadway, or 47th and like 5th. And so one of them is like a sit down, really small, and the other one is like a takeout more so. But I tried that in Miami, and they have the insane like chicken poppers. They have like loaded smashed French fries, like meat and fake cheese, but you would think it's real. Mind you, like I don't know. So, yeah, Smash House.
Well, I'm not kosher, but I have friends that are kosher, and every time I get to go eat out with them, it's like the best meal ever. Anytime.
Oh, good. Good. I love highlighting kosher restaurants. It's my favorite.
Oh my God, we had this steakhouse. It was like the best steak I've ever had in my entire
Which
life.
one? Reserve Cut or Wall Street Grill?
I think it was Reserve Cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Like
Jack
insane.
and I go there.
I was like mind blown. Like I've been missing this my whole entire life.
Yeah. But it's okay. You can go back.
I can go back. Definitely a little pricey, but like still so.
Mark is
good.
going tonight for dinner now.
Well, it's like
Fine.
kosher
New Yorkers
steakhouse.
With all your food that I can't eat.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear
Yeah,
it. Libby.
Sam's coming to visit.
Yeah, exactly. Your last rapid fire. I want to know if you have any book recommendations for us.
Laugh Lines by Alan Zweibel,
There you
which
go.
was the book that started my career.
I was about to say, this professor better be plugging you because you were given a lot of love, and it's
So he's
incredible.
not a professor. He was one of the original SNL writers.
But you said you took a course and you kept referring back to him because of just the text, like the book that you read in class.
Because he came as an alumni to like be a good person and do a course for people, and the show that we were working on was Bunny Bunny, written about his life with Gilda Radner, and the show got canceled because of COVID, so it turned into comedy lessons, and we read his book and we made content, and yeah, that was a T, and he's awesome, so I don't mind plugging him. Shout out Alan.
Shout out, Alan. All right, Libby, we're coming to the last question, which is a question that we ask every single person that joins Elevation Nation. We've interviewed over 200 people, and we've asked them a question about their mental motto, which is a phrase, a quote, a slogan that they live their life by, that embodies who they are, what they want, what inspires them, so that when times get tough, they can lean on it and push through. So obviously, we're very curious. What's your mental motto?
My mental motto is be consistent and keep showing up. That doesn't mean you can't take a break, but remember the mission. And, you know, so many people, they'll say, I want to be a creator, but like, are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to post every day? I want to wake up and have this dream. Whatever it might be, just be consistent and show up, because things will happen.
It's a beautiful mental motto. I think you are embodying that, as well as your mental fortitude of knowing your skill set and what brings you joy, yourself, your vision of where you want to take your content and your life, and then what truly inspires you each and every day to continue to just be who you are. And so, Libby, on behalf of Parker, myself, and the rest of Elevation Nation, we are so hyped to finally welcome you
Thank
into
you.
our community, into the nation. We're so honored to, I guess we'll call ourselves content creators with you. But,
Yeah, you are.
just so excited and so grateful to have
Me
you in
too.
this world with us.
Shout out Gigi Robinson for like the
Exactly.
100 connections she's given me, but also specifically this one, because this was one of the most fun conversations I've had.
Appreciate you, Libby.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for
Oh,
joining
and
us.
you can find me on Libby
Yeah.
Amber Shayo on Instagram or TikTok, Schmuck Boys Official on Instagram or TikTok. And if you're interested in any of my consulting packages for behind the scenes content, if you're planning on getting engaged and you need a reel, I got you, wedding content, please email libbyambershayo@gmail.com.
You heard it here. All right, Elevation Nation. Until next week.
Bye.
Well